Okay, our last lesson of Unit 4. That means a test is coming, so I hope you're paying attention and rewatching these videos if you happen to get confused. We're going to look at subtracting across zeros, which is just kind of a trickier version of regrouping that we'd already looked at last time. So we've been regrouping with subtracting, but what happens if when you go next door to borrow that 10 extra, what happens if there's nothing there? Okay, what if it's a 0? 0 means nothing. So let's look at the first problem here. We have 600 and we're going to subtract 177. Okay, right away you can see all the zeros here. So you know it's going to be a little bit tricky to take 77 away when you've got nothing there. You're going to have to regroup it. Okay, so just like before, you're going to borrow 10 from over here. You're going to move 10 over, break 10 up into 10 ones instead. So you have 0 ones, you're adding 10 more, it's going to stay at 10. Now where'd you get that from though? You can't get it from here. That's a 0. The way I like to do these, the easiest way I think, is then to look at 60. If you look at these two together, you've got the number 60. So 60, if you take away 1 from 60, count backwards 1, you should get 59. So I'm going to cross that out and write 59 up here. Okay? Some people would have you regroup. This 0 first. So you want this to be 10, which means this needs to be 10, which means this needs to be 5, but you got to take away another there to get that 10. I find that incredibly confusing. There's so many steps to remember, and which one do you do first? So I prefer to just look at that as 60. It makes it a lot easier to regroup that. 60 minus 1 is 59, so I'm going to use 59 instead of 60 because I moved 1 over here to make 10 extra. Okay. So now I can subtract that. 10 minus 7. 10 minus 7 is 3. 9 minus 7, 2. 5 minus 1, 4. Done. Okay, and of course, circle your answer. Okay. I know that probably sounded a little bit confusing because I did it kind of quickly, but let's look at a couple more examples and we'll see if we can get it. Number 2 says 5,000. And we're subtracting 2,472. Subtracting that. Okay, again, they want you to take 2 away, but you haven't got anything there. So we've got to regroup that. We've got to add a 10 onto that, which we get from over here. But again, there's a 0 there, so you can't take it away from there. 0 there, so you can't take anything away from there. There's a 5 here. So let's look at those together. 500. What if you take 1 away from 500, or you count back 1 from 500? What's right before 500? Well, it's 499. So not 500 anymore, 499. Like I told you, you can do it this way too. I find this way a bit confusing. So we change this to 10, which means we have to borrow something from here, but to borrow something from there, we had to borrow from here, and to borrow from here, you had to borrow from here. So make this 4, which made that 10, but then we had to regroup this, so we made that 9, which made that 10, but we had borrowed 1 here, so that's 9 too. So we end up with 4, 9, 9, and 10, just like here, 4, 9, 9, and 10. But this way, you only had 1 step to follow. This way, you had, I think it's a lot of confusing steps to follow instead. So if you're going across zeros here, we had to borrow 10 to put here. So when you look here, look at this like 500 instead of 005. And just take 1 away from your 500, count back 1. So we end up 499. Now let's see if we can subtract. We should be able to now. 10 minus 2, 8. 9 minus 7, 2. 9 minus 4, 5. 4 minus 2, 2. So you have 2,528. Okay, and again, circle your answers, please. All right, one more practice problem quickly, and then I'll ask you to try some on your own. So we have 8,009. You're subtracting 3,578. Notice I lined up my place values. That's always your first step with these addition and subtraction problems. Okay, so first we have 9 minus 8. We can do that. 9 minus 8, you have 1 left over if you take away 8. Okay, now we get into our zeros. We can't take 7 away if we only have 0. If you have nothing, you can't take 7 away. So we're going to change that to a 10. Okay, but we had to get that 10 from somewhere. You can't just make things 10 in math. It's got to come from somewhere. There's got to be a reason. So we're going to take this, we can't take anything here to make your 10, so you got to look at these together. You have 80. 80 minus 1, or back 1, would be 79. Okay, so now you're ready to subtract. 10 minus 7 is 3. 9 minus 5, 4. And 7 minus 3, which should be 4. Okay, and that's your final answer, 4,431. Take a minute, try those 2 problems that are on the bottom of your paper, and I will check them when I see you.